I joined WFO in 2000, the year 2000. I had just recently heard about the organization and I attended a conference in Humboldt County. At the time, Mike San Miguel was president, and they were looking for a replacement for their treasurer and membership chair, who was Dory Myers at the time. And Joe Moreland, my partner, suggested that I apply for the job. So I did. And Dory and I spent some months going through training on a system that had been set up by a man named Howard Cogswell, who was instrumental in the early days of Western field ornithologists. And the database was called FoxPro. So I learned how to use that, and that worked for the membership statistics and keeping track of who needed to renew and that type of thing. Eventually, I realized that it would be easier if I converted the FoxPro to a spreadsheet in Excel. So I did that, and I did that around 2002. And Mike San Miguel was president until 2004. And unfortunately, he has since passed away. He's very, very well respected and was well liked in the organization. And we miss him. We still do. In 2002, we had a balance in checking and savings for WFO of about $45,000. And the publications fund at that time had a balance of $7,700. In 2008, after I had made some suggestions about how we needed to always have on hand 3 years of operating expenses, we had increased our membership costs and tried to find some other revenue sources. And one of those was sponsoring field trips to other parts of the world. So by 2008, instead of $45,000, the balance was up to $111,000, which was a significant increase. In 2008, Cat Waters, who was president at the time, and I decided that it would be very fruitful for Western field ornithologists to start a scholarship fund and sponsor students to come to our conferences. So we did start the scholarship fund, and in 2008, we had a balance there of $700, and we sponsored our first young person to come to a conference. And then during the rest of the other years that I was involved, and I stayed until 2014. In 2004, David Yee, who is a terrific person who runs the Central Valley Birding Symposium, and WFO has, we've modeled our conferences on some of the ideas that we found in Central Valley Birding Symposium. So David Yee was president from 2004 to 2007. And then Dave Creeper, who lives in New Mexico, became president Cat Waters in 2008, and then Dave Shuford in 2011. And by 2013, the president was Ed Pandolfino, and Ed and I worked very closely on various conferences, including one in Petaluma that took place in 2012. And that has one of the fun WFO conference stories. We were in Petaluma, and on Sunday morning, it was discovered that there was a common cuckoo, and it was in Santa Cruz County. So many folks left the WFO meeting early on that Sunday to get down to see this common cuckoo. I, as Sean will know, as treasurer, was required to stay until the bitter end and make sure all of the monies were accounted for and any leftover goods or, books that had been donated had a home to go to. So my heart was pounding, wondering whether I'd be able to actually get to Santa Cruz in time to see this common cuckoo. And I broke speed records on my way down there, and luckily the bird was still there. So yes, so those good deeds were rewarded that time. And one of the first conferences that I went to after joining, actually, it was right before I became a member, was in Alaska, in Anchorage. And I've always hoped that WFO would get back to Alaska. But at that time, Kimball Garrett, who's very instrumental in the success of Western field ornithologists and birds in general in the state of California, was on one of the field trips that we were on, and we were in a parking lot with snow-covered hills around us, and Dan Gibson, who's also instrumental in the success of Western field ornithologists, was there as well. And we got out of the school bus that we had been transported to this park, and Kimball set up his scope in the parking lot and picked up the site of a ptarmigan. It had to have been a quarter of a mile away. And so that really ensured my continued interest in Western field ornithologists, knowing that the folks were such great birders and wonderful companions of fun people to be with. So yes, so even though I left the board in 2014, I have continued to try to attend as many conferences as I can. So that's my WFO story, and I'm sorry about the technical difficulties, but I appreciate the fact that such a project, the oral history, has been undertaken. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Robbie. That was great. We had no technical difficulties. We could hear you fine. And those were great answers to the questions. We appreciate you taking the time to do this. Right. Sean, anything else? No? Oh, you're muted, Sean.
Can hear us. She can't hear us anyhow.
Oh, she can't? I thought
no. No, so that's why I write everything in the text.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Well, that was great. Okay.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.